Hello, I'm Steve Monkey Mason and welcome to a new podcast with the very first time special guest, Mr. Carl, is on the other line.
Hello there.
Hi, now Carl goes to pictures every week and sees so many movies. He's got one of them Odeon Pass for Life cards and fuck me, he makes the most of it. We've chosen to do Under Siege, and because it's a Warner Brothers title and on Blu-ray it's playing straight away, so I'm about to press play in 5 seconds after the Warner Brothers logo, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. Warner Brothers presents Blue Font. That's it.
Yes.
So that's very shining. Very shining. I always think of that blue font as shining.
Yeah.
Now the thing is about this movie, right? Every time I end up absolutely smashed, I either wake up with 5 different films on, and this is always in my Blu-ray player. It's either this, Predator 2, Lost Boys, The Thing, or First Blood. Every single time, I'm like, not Under Siege again.
Yeah, well, to be honest with that, like, I've literally not seen this for at least a couple of years, so it's going to be like kind of still seeing it from fresh eyes. I'm sure I'm going to be surprised by a few things.
Well, the thing is, it's an Andrew Davis film. Now, he's famous for directing The Fugitive, which would have been after this, but this is basically Warner Brothers' answer to Die Hard.
Yeah, funny enough you say that. I remember reading a while ago that apparently signed on to do The Fugitive before this was even finished. Apparently it took the final cut for Harrison Ford to get on board with that. Apparently he wasn't on board at first, but once he seen Under Siege, it was the ticket that got him on.
The only other film I can think of Andrew Davis directing is Chain Reaction. There's a lot of famous people in this just in the background.
I was going to say, was that the guy from Street Fighter I just saw there?
There's a guy from Street Fighter, then you had the guy from Ace Ventura was just in. But obviously, like, this is like, obviously a real ship. I mean, if it was now, it'd be all CGI.
Yeah. Oh, but apparently a lot of the scenes that they did from the ship wasn't even on the ship that we see.
Oh, well, yeah, it's bound to be. I mean, Steven Seagal had basically... I think he was in a film before Nico. I'm sure Casper's got it. So we had Nico, Hard to Kill, Out for Justice. I think Marked for Death was at 20th Century Fox. So I think Warner Brothers threw fucking a ton of money at him for this to come back. Because at this point he had boomed. You know what I mean? Because his films are ultra-violent. It's a time where, you know, Stallone and Schwarzenegger were sort of trying to do more commercial stuff. And Seagal was, it's like Seagal and Van Damme were making them harder action movies.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously Seagal, though, he had his reputation, though, didn't he? Apparently the right hard ass when it came to actually on the sets and stuff like that. He's very much a control freak.
Well, you've got to look at Executive Decision. He got fired from that, and that was his last big film.
Yeah. Well, apparently he really wanted to direct this one. It took a while, but apparently it was really wanted this one, but obviously didn't happen.
Well, the one he made after this was On Deadly Ground, and that was directed by him, and I think that was his last bridge with Warner Brothers until a few years later. I mean, On Deadly Ground is just... I mean, as a kid, you were like, oh my god, it was one of them trailers you've seen, and it had the big yellow font at the trailers on the VHS.
Yeah.
And now he's in fucking...
Really nice shots in this film, right?
So what's that?
Some really nice shots in here.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a real ship. You know what I mean? It's going to be like they were not holding back with this. I mean, these are probably legit sailors.
Yeah. Oh, I just noticed with his hat on. Did you notice with one of the first films that he had to legitimately cut his ponytail off for because of the Navy SEALs rules regulations?
His hair was a bit weirdly long, that old comb back mullet. That kid who's just appeared there as well, he's been in a shitload of movies as well.
He's one of those faces, isn't he? Yeah. Now, this is real footage, you know. That's really George Bush. Apparently this was the memorial for Pearl Harbor. So everything you're seeing outside right now is complete footage from when they originally did that memorial.
But again, no, that's like capitalising on a good thing. I mean, trying to put it together, if not, you mean like it'd just be impossible. But you're right. I mean, that would cost a fucking fortune if you were trying to fake that.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? It's just like he's an idea, but again, it's throwing an idea out there for a Die Hard kind of movie. But I mean, Andrew Davis, I think he's a good director, especially the collaborations with his music as well.
Yeah. Do you know what this was originally meant to be called?
No.
The original title was apparently Dreadnought.
Dreadnought.
Yeah, I was reading that the other day. Basically, Dreadnought, and apparently they almost settled on Last to Surrender, because apparently all Seagal's films up to this date all had 3 words in the title.
I mean, Seagal's even got a produced by credit, you know what I mean?
Of course he has, yeah. The kid had an ego, like.
There you go, Andrew Davis. The big ass ship, like. He's in a load of films. I've just recently seen him in I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. Gary Busey, obviously. Gary Busey, I think, is an amazing actor. He's pretty fucking off the wall in real life. This guy here on the left as well, he's went on to be in a lot of Michael Bay movies, I think.
Yeah, you know what it is? Always strikes me as I think he was the bodyguard in 24. And ever since I saw him in there, he just seemed to. He has that face everywhere I go now. I always see his face in the film.
Yeah,
he's everywhere.
He's been in a lot. Like, I'm sure he was in it. I tell you what, he was in one of the episodes of X-Files I seen the other day. I think he was it was the one with the episode where the lass from It is in it with 5 fingers, and then a priest's going around and fucking killing them, and he's I mean, he's in lots of the films, like. But the thing about Gary Busey, talking about Gary Busey, right? He can play a fucking nasty bad guy, but he can also play a likable guy as well.
Well, he's got that face, though, hasn't he? I mean, like I say, I'm obviously the teeth are the thing that most people recognise Busey for. But yeah, I think he's got a comedic timing as well. So despite if he is being a dick, he kind of comes off really funny at the same time.
He's not meant to die in this, though, you know. He was meant to be the bad guy in the second movie, and he got a fucking massive paycheck for it.
Really?
Yeah, I was reading in on that.
Well, he shared the screen with Tommy Lee Jones in this, didn't he? Because obviously, technically, there's 2 bad guys in this, in theory.
Yeah.
But I think, like, cause I remember reading that sometimes they were like trying to like outdo each other sometimes, like not like obviously seriously, but for all the scene they were trying to like how can they stand out the most if they were to be recognised as the villain.
Yeah, I mean, Tommy Lee Jones really falls into the character. I mean, he's like, again, if you look at The Fugitive and you look how different the character is on that. Tommy Lee Jones is again someone else who can play a fucking wicked bad guy, but also quite a good comedian as well.
Yeah.
This ginger guy, you know, is dead like Casper.
You know that now that you said it, yeah.
And Casper, me and Casper's been trying to do a podcast for a while now, and Under Siege was one we actually talked about doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think.
Have you not actually done one with him yet?
No, I mean Seagal, you know what I mean. He's got that smooth voice. He's got the laid back attitude. I think you know what I mean. This role was made for him. You know what I mean.
Oh, I mean, absolutely.
As I said.
Like I say, I think he.
Hello.
I don't know what it is about. I don't know what it is about him when it comes to like comparing him with the rest of them. He seemed to have something different. Like I think maybe it wasn't because he had like the most chiseled body. I mean, he's not an unhealthy looking bloke at all. But I feel like with Van Damme and Stallone and Schwarzenegger, it was always how many opportunities can I get to get my shirt off so I can show you all the abs and stuff. Whereas I always felt like Seagal didn't have that as much.
Yeah, I mean, when do you ever see Seagal really with his top off and stuff? You know what I mean? He's more of the disarming kind of fighting, and he's more that kind of whatever he's mastering.
But he's got experience in himself in real life, isn't he? Whereas obviously the rest of the guys, obviously Van Damme, of course, but if you compare like with Schwarzenegger and Stallone, they needed to look physically good because they weren't necessarily trained as fighters, so you can see why they had to do that.
It doesn't. I mean, it was Stallone as well. I mean, he was obviously in shape for the Rockies.
Yeah. what he did for Rocky 4 was absolutely unbelievable. Like,
Well, he went from Rocky 3 in the First Blood, and I was listening to the commentary the other day, and he was on about how he lost so much weight, like, so.
nah, yeah.
So yeah, I think Gary Busey really pulls off. I mean, he's fantastic in a movie called Silver Bullet, and strangely enough, the bad guy in... I mean, one of the problems with Under Siege 2 is it does not have a credible bad guy at all. It has two main villains, but I mean, there's Cole Meany on the left there as a henchman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, that's what I think where the second one really falls flat. And the bad guy from the second one is the bad guy in Silver Bullet, which also stars Gary Busey.
Right. Well, funny enough, obviously, like, when it comes to the 80s and 90s, Under Siege 2 was just one of the very many that was never really the sequel. A lot of these films tend to be written, and then, say, for example, in this case, Warner Brothers would pick up that and then turn it into Under Siege 2. So it was a bit messy sometimes when it came to stuff like that.
I mean, Under Siege 2, I mean, it was about 4 or 5 years later. The hype was big because he had sort of drifted off the radar, and Under Siege 2 was cinematically released. And again, it's the same movie on a train. But again, I think you just didn't have the, like, I mean, the score, the style, and the supporting actors, the cast. I mean, fair enough if Gary Busey came back or not, but it just lacked a lot. The second one, I think.
I think they got a little bit too hyped up because, I mean, obviously this one being the only Seagal film that ever got Oscar nominations, which is really hard to think when you think of something like this type of film. It's a great film, but you wouldn't sort of link this with Oscars at all.
No. The guy who has to look after him in the brig here, he went on to be the young recruit in The Fugitive and the, weirdly enough, sequel, U.S. Marshals.
Right. Do you think it was like kind of like a small group of people? Like, if you think of like the 90s action film, like you said earlier on, like faces were popping up all over the place. It almost felt like, you know, it was like a set group of people who did that sort of thing, and it always seemed to work quite well.
Well, a lot of the time back then as well, it'd be agency work. I would say, you know, Hollywood's always been littered with people who can act and stuff like that, but like, the 90s was a big time for stuff like going across the border to Canada to get filmed. So all of a sudden you had a lot of money put into American films to get it done there, and then obviously later on going into the 2000s they sort of came to Europe to capitalise on places like Bulgaria and Romania for making low budget movies. So when you do it in and around Hollywood and you've got like an acting agency and you've got this list of names, you know what I mean, they just go from one production to the next, you know what I mean, it's word of mouth. It's like, like, say for example, you one of your actors drops out the last minute and you're in the shit. I mean, I've been there before when you're like, we need somebody to play that actor, and this is that going back to that Chris Jericho story. Now, well, why don't we hire Chris Jericho? He can come in, and then they end up hiring John Lynch from for the role and stuff like that. But again, it was just word of mouth who you could get at short notice. But like, you've got to think about how many days that actor's needed. He might be all the way through the film, but it might be 2 days filming for him.
Yeah, true. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Tommy Lee Jones and Gary Busey aren't needed except for one or a couple of scenes later on. So you probably have Tommy Lee Jones earlier on, Gary Busey later. You know what I mean? You've got to think of how actors in schedules and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that was it. I mean, even when you put down like sort of the time and of how long, like screen time, like Seagal's not even in it that much.
No.
I mean, like, I would say definitely 50, maybe just under 50% of the film, he's not even in it.
Right, I've only ever seen her, I mean, don't get us wrong, I knew what Baywatch was when I was a kid, and I've only ever seen her in another movie called Bordello of Blood, which is a Corey Feldman movie. I've seen her in nothing else.
Right. Well, you know, you can see why she got hired. I mean, obviously, that's why they went to the cast of Baywatch. Obviously, I don't know if you know this, but the word has it that it was actually Pamela Anderson who they wanted. But when you hear about all these stories, I think one of the ones that you know, you hear a lot of it. Apparently, Pamela Anderson states she was in a casting room with Seagal, and he pretty much put it out there. If you do what I want now, you've got the role. And she kind of said no. And then apparently this actress here was sitting across the room, and he said, well, if you don't do it now, she will. But the thing is, she's never said a bad word, like, so Lord knows what she did to get the role if it was that way.
I see Torrington's coming here to do a trade. The henchman who comes on with him as well, just passing there, the black guy with the bald head, he is also in The Fugitive. He's the guy who also escapes and gets tracked down first.
Right, so
I mean, he was in quite a few films. I'm sure, what's he in? He was in More Money as well. I watched that a couple of weeks ago, and he's a guy in the prison cell with a pirate patch on.
Right.
But she gets knocked out here with them tablets, doesn't she?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
I mean, Tommy Lee Jones at this point, you know, I mean, he had sort of like, he was worked with John Carpenter, Bad Moon Rising. Well, sort of, John Carpenter wrote Bad Moon Rising, but he was sort of gearing up to be a kind of action star with that, but then sort of transitioned in being a bad guy. But he's been in fucking loads of films, Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh, the guy's a legend, but it's strange because even when he was younger, he always looked like 40. You know, even now, you can see how much younger he is now.
He has never looked young. He has never looked young at all. You're so right. It's like Morgan Freeman's never looked young.
Nah, yeah, I could say if you look back at the last 20 years with him, you would not know time's passed like. I suppose it'll catch up eventually.
Mess hall. Cole Meany as well, man. I mean, he's worked strong, like.
But what do you think of when you see his face? What's the one thing you think of?
Con Air.
Con Air, yeah. You know, it's still like, it's weird because he's not even that big of a role. But I just think he just made it like such a role. I can imagine that being type of role where they just thought that was never meant to be that like animated, but he made it like.
He's in like stuff like The Van and stuff like that. I mean, he's a go-to actor, like.
Yeah, I think now it's like, for me, strangely enough, it's either Con Air or like Star Trek. So I don't know, you wouldn't probably be too big on Star Trek, but he just seemed to be one of those faces.
Oh, he was in Star Trek, wasn't he? I mean, I know a little, but I don't know loads.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say his body of work's tremendous, so.
Okay, I mean, just look at them shots, though. That's shot with it.
It's worth mentioning, the Blu-ray looks really nice.
Well, the thing is, for a long, long time, the only way you could get Under Siege 1, 2, what else is in my box set? Hard to Kill, Nico, and Executive Decision, and I believe it's the only way you can get Hard to Kill, Nico, and Executive Decision still, is in a £10 Blu-ray box set from HMV. Under Siege 1 and 2 have come out on a double pack, but yeah, for a long time, that's the only way they've been available.
Yeah, it's worth saying this, like, apparently this was all Gary Busey that year. Not that would shock anyone, but that was one of the things he was talking about, how he wanted to, like, kind of take away, like, a little bit of the light from Tommy Lee Jones to sort of say, what can I do to stand out? So the whole drag thing apparently was from Tales that he'd done research on from the Navy. So this is totally him, like.
Oh, I mean, I've seen a couple of interviews with Gary Busey, and I've also listened to the commentary on Silver Bullet. He had a heart attack, he was out of action for a while, but he also had a motorbike accident, and he was out for ages, and both times he's made a comeback. And to be honest with you, I think Under Siege was one of them movies when he first had a comeback, but he's just fucking crackers.
Yeah, honestly, I don't understand how they haven't done like a documentary with him, because it just seemed like he's got like the attitude to do it, and I just think if you did like an hour documentary on the life of Gary Busey with him, it would just be a trip.
Have you got the Fear and Loathing Arrow Special Edition?
I do,
Well, yeah, there's a film on there about Hunter S. Thompson and Gary Busey's interviewed, and that he's fucking brilliant.
Aye.
It's a good hour and a half watch, but it's absolutely a fantastic documentary.
Well, there's so much stuff on there. Like, I mean, I've watched some of it, but there's so much stuff on there. It's a tremendous collection. Like,
But again, I bet some of them old timers there, with the jackets on, have just passed the screen. I bet they're genuine veterans.
yeah, I think just a couple of scenes ago when Busey goes past the table, there's three of them sitting at a desk. Apparently, the first one was in fact an active Navy sergeant or something like that, whatever his rank was. But yeah, apparently they used a lot of real guys for the scenes. You said before about your box set, and I've just I was looking online this morning just out of curiosity. Apparently, I think it's the only way. I don't know about Blu-ray. The only way you can get the actual uncut edition in this country is if you get it through the box sets. Apparently, obviously going back when it was first released in the UK, it was actually cinematically released. It was the original cut, but anything on home video or DVD was apparently cut in most places in Europe and the UK.
All right. I mean, I've still got the big box VHS of this. I have it on DVD. It was one of them snap boxes. But I've also got the quad poster I got in London from the shop for £1. I mean, it's a quad poster. It's fucking huge, but it's completely trashed.
Yeah.
Just sitting in this bucket, I was just like, right. I mean, this is a good shot when he shoots him in the forehead, like.
Yeah, no, that's the guy I was on about. He's apparently the one who's still inactive.
Well, sometimes you need like people in that profession. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because it's a lot to take in, especially if somebody's a medical doctor or like a marine, and it's the lingo, especially if you want to do authenticity proper good. But this is, I mean, it's meant to, but the thing is, this is a big action film, big thing, but it's very grounded.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not,
definitely.
it's not over the top. You haven't got Van Damme doing massive spin kicks. Everyone really plays it serious. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it still does follow the Die Hard rule. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like infiltrate, take over, and then get the ball rolling to find out you've got someone trapped in the freezer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's that. But when you get something like Die Hard, though, you think once that recipe works, they're going to try and do it in every which way they can, aren't they?
Well,
Like,
I watched Sudden Death the other day in Van Damme in a hockey ring, and it's the same MO as Die Hard.
Yeah. But apparently, Matt Reeves was who wrote the second one. Apparently, he said the original script that he left was very much more Die Hard than what we end up getting. I think he always said he wasn't like too heartbroken when they didn't use pretty much his stuff because it was like very much inspired by Die Hard.
I don't know if you've seen that there, but that henchman one just came for the door. His hand was so close to that Bunsen burner that guy had, and that's a real Bunsen burner. It's like CGI. He's nearly. I mean, even though that touches your skin, you're gonna have a hole in your hand.
Oh, you.
There's a bit of a see. Then again, there's that rig above that they start modifying the shift in the bullets.
Yeah. How much smoke's coming off that gun, man?
That's it, man. It's proper uber violent. Even the actor Cue Ball who starts dancing at the start, he stands out just for all the colours he's wearing.
Yeah.
But you see later on, Seagal walks past that, has a tape beam above the head, and you see this is how they're going to shift the nukes, but it's already there.
I was going to say, I suppose if you dissect them, there's a lot of plot holes in these sort of films. Although that's one thing I think about what worked well with the ship. I think when you mentioned earlier on about it being grounded, it's like that kind of, it's such a like confined shots. Like every room is only like a really small, narrow room, so it like works really well.
Have you seen the film Blackwater with Van Damme and the Lundgren?
No, I've not seen that one.
Fuck me, man! Like it's all set in the submarine, and like the rooms are the size of the huge rooms. And Have they forgot it's a submarine? It's like a corridor in a building, and it's like meant to be a submarine. It's like, what?
Yeah. I wonder if Tommy Lee Jones caught those cigarettes first time.
He's definitely like a fucking deranged hippie, like, isn't he?
I
mean, Mick Jagger. Mick Jagger has got to be his, like, I'm going to look like Mick Jagger in this movie.
Yeah. I just love that he's still dressed as a woman, like, it's like...
Even there. One of the more normal, crucial things is reflection in someone's glasses, and... I mean, they've got quite a good few rules together, bits together here, like.
Yeah.
He just looks like a creep, the tech guy.
He just looked like a bad guy, though. Like, you look at that, you think, that's a suspicious looking bloke.
Again, you couldn't do this now because everyone would probably have the mobile phones in it. I mean, I'm not sure the laws of the Navy, like, but...
Yeah, because it kind of lends itself to time, like, I mean, even with the tech that they've got there, it's fairly basic.
So was it loads of lights and stuff like that? Ooh, I wonder what that switch does.
Just that kind of idea, like, you know, when you watch as many films as I have, like, when you watch it, you just see all these consoles, and that's like, if you ever just stop to look, it's just like, there's nothing there, you know, like, it's just flashing lights, you know, if you just really look at it, it's just like, nah, there's nothing there, just...
I mean, look at the floppy disk he's giving them, man.
Hey, that'll be at least about 100 megabyte, that.
I can't forget what film I was did a podcast for recently, and just as the scene started, you could see the screen say, I think it said such and such's room, and obviously, let's say video playback, so you can the actors can actually react to what's on the monitor. Now it's all green screen, do you know what I mean? But then they would have to have it actually on there, which I think helps actors when they can actually see something they're looking at.
Yeah, I've just literally had a conversation the other day with my cousin's kid. Like he's 16, 17 now, and he's starting to jump into the world of films, and you know, we're talking about like best films of all time and stuff like that, and you know, it kind of like made us laugh, because obviously the first thing you said was obviously Avengers Endgame, which, don't get me wrong, it's a huge accomplishment, but you know, there's so much like out there in terms of like really focus on it, and you know, it's completely CGI, there's nothing really there, and I just feel like you could totally lose an actor's potential by doing something like that. I think like that's why I love old films, I love 80s films, I love anything that's practical, because it just, you get such a different reaction out of these actors.
Well, that's it. I mean, Seagal as well. I mean, he would be good in the Expendables just for his name, but going back to the Expendables, you think, like, the original cast was meant to be Van Damme and Wesley Snipes, wasn't it? So,
yeah,
because Terry Crews took over. Was it Terry Crews took over for Wesley Snipes, and Randy Coltridge took over for Van Damme on the original team, and I'm sure Seagal was meant to be the baddie.
No, I'm going to say I definitely heard Seagal was involved, like, but I think as soon as you put Seagal and Van Damme name on paper, you're always going to have a hard time, like.
Well, that's it. They don't seem to see eye to eye. Even in the movie JVC, Van Damme is sort of tongue-in-cheek when he finds out he's lost out in his new film role because of Seagal and stuff like that. It's quite funny. But I mean, for years they've been trying to do an Under Siege 3, and I think the closest we ever got to that was Half Past Dead.
Yeah, because he didn't. Seagal wrote one, though, didn't he? Didn't he write a script?
There's been a script around for years, but I think the time has passed for it. I think really.
Well, when was the last time Seagal was on screen? I mean, got to be a few years ago now. I think
Machete.
the last thing I probably saw him was Machete.
Machete kill. Was it Machete? Machete 1.
Yeah.
And even that, I mean, before that, it would have been executive decision.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe's exit wounds, maybe's.
Yeah.
Now we just
But
see.
then, I mean, if you go up to, he would have to be a bad guy now, though. I think the way he's built now these days, he's a much bigger bloke, and I think he's always sporting that goatee. So I reckon you could probably still get away with doing like a decent, like 80s style action film with him being a bad guy. I'd still probably watch it.
Oh yeah, I mean, wasn't he at Gateshead not long ago?
Yeah, I remember saying that, and I'm thinking, you know, yeah, and he's
Fuck me, how small is that henchman? That henchman's a borderline midget on the left. And the other henchman looks like a Ryan Reynolds wannabe.
They don't look the part, like, do they?
He totally looks like Ryan Reynolds. That's a pretty harsh death, this, like. Stuck in the freezer. I tell you what,
See, now, if this was an Arnie film, there would definitely be a chill out tagline here now.
well, that's it. I mean, that's one thing it really doesn't do. It doesn't give you the cheesy one-liners.
Aye.
It's like the other day when I was watching, because I was going to do Striking Distance today until you went, oh, let's do Under Siege. And there's a bit where Willis, I mean, I quite like Striking Distance, but there's a bit where Willis, like, this guy pops up and he smacks him in the face with a shotgun. And then he goes, land shark. Like, what? Oh, the fucking mess halls. So Seagal, I mean, I'm not watching this with a time code, but like now the film really starts to, you know, like they've took Seagal out of the picture. I think that's quite good.
Yeah.
So he's now coming out of it and doesn't know, and it's like we know as an audience, we see what the danger is, but there's still like plans to do. And there's the knife from the beginning.
Aye. Well, that's it. I mean, we're half an hour in nearly, I think. And like I say, it took it time to kind of put it together. I feel like in this day and age, it would have all happened within the first 5-10 minutes.
Oh yeah, compression. Yeah.
Hey, what I watched the other day, I don't know if you've ever seen it, End of Watch, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh yeah. I've seen that. Yeah.
Never seen that. It's one of those like covers that I always see, and I go, oh, I should watch that, and I never saw it, and that was really quite surprising.
There's always them films. It's like you get like either you're watching from your Sky Movies or something like yeah, and you eventually watch it and go, fuck me, that was a brilliant film, that. But it's not something you would generally watch.
Nah, I was going to say, well, Gyllenhaal, I think that must have been just before he started kicking off, like. Because, I mean, when you think about it, I mean, obviously I remember Jake Gyllenhaal was like Donnie Darko, but I feel like that was like, he only did that. I can't really think of anything much after that until like a few years later.
Well, like Nightcrawler and stuff's about the same time. Have you seen that?
Yeah, alright, yeah.
I love it how he set the microwave away there, right? That just happens to blow up when they come back later on.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, he's a chef, man. He knows these things.
Fucking right. The guy totally like fits the part.
Well, the tech guy, I mean, he just looked like, looked more like Dr. Evil, to be honest with you. Like, kind of got that, like, kind of round glasses, bald head look. And I'm thinking, yeah, you look like a bad guy.
That's it. Oh, it's got his gun. Look at the silencer on that, man. I mean, when we last seen the captain, he was dead in his chair. I mean, what's provoked them to chuck him around on the floor? I mean, what's that about?
Yeah, but someone's lost a temper. Like, I was just thinking that myself. I thought, I must have had a bit of a chuck about, like, but oh, nice and white.
I mean, it's Seagal got Indian in his blood. I'm just going off. I'm just going off by like undeadly ground. Because that's very. He's just got that very like it's not tanned his skin. Do you know what I mean? It's more Native American.
I think because along with the skin tone in his eyes, it definitely shows that he's got something there.
I mean, he could have been Braveheart if they tried to make a Braveheart in the 90s. Brave Star, not Braveheart. No, Brave Star.
I'm sitting there thinking I've just agreed, and then my brain's like slowly catching up, going, well, Mel Gibson did a kind of good job. Like, I don't know if he was working a kilt.
You know what I meant there, Brave Star. I mean, that's definitely a blue screen composite. That's it, like, but even then, it's been done really well. Because even look in the background. In the background, they've got the fire going way in the distance, out of focus. Like, normally, attention to detail, you just wouldn't bother with that.
Yeah, they definitely have a attention to detail when it comes to this. Well, kind of that's what they've got to work on. I think that's the idea of CGI. It makes you lazy. You just assume that people are just going to look at it and then turn away to see the next shiny item in the screen.
Well, that's it. You've got a boardroom full of people. Oh, what about the moon being full in that scene? Just put it in. You think, well, what? The two characters are about to get introduced to as well. They appear in the sequel. I think there's a few familiar faces. Oh, Kurtwood Smith's in this as well, isn't he? Shit, aye. RoboCop.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. He's one of those, I was just thinking there, he's one of those, I would never have been able to give you his name, but his face.
It is this one, isn't it? Or is it the sequel he's in?
It'd be... it might be the sequel,
No, it might be, it's a sequel, yeah.
91.
This chief here and the other chief there in the sequel, and it's Kurtwood Smith, isn't it? So, but again, Kurtwood Smith would have been a great bad guy actually on the train.
Yeah.
Just looking around the boardroom. I always look for the extra in the background, just deadpan in the camera.
Yeah.
It's hard stuff, I mean, I've done it a couple of times and I'm like, oh, can you just stand and like block this shot for us a bit? And like you stand there, and your job is just to stand there, and you're blocking something, or you got to stand in the background. You'll not be in focus or anything like that, but you'll be there for like 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah, because I don't think I can give you that kind of time frame, but I mean, in my line of work, there was a shot that they wanted to do last minute with Mr. Tumbles, and of course I just happened to be working in the back, so they just said, oh, you just stay there. But I'll be honest with you, as soon as I told you, like, okay, you just stay there and act natural, it's like almost like permission to say, right, now I need to look as unnatural as I can. You kind of think, well, I'm going to have to try really hard to look natural, and that looks less.
Do not look down the camera screen. Do not point your fingers. Don't talk, but have a conversation.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. Well, funny, we did a scene where one of my friends got paired up with his lass, and he knows her, but like not like super well. And it was for like a photo, and so like he took so long, but basically he got them to like look into each other's eyes, but like he was good, strong 3 or 4 minutes a time. So like I remember my mate saying like how ridiculous it was, because he said, have you ever just sat and like looked at someone dead in the eye that you don't really know that well for 3 strong minutes? It's like, it's so awkward. And I thought,
Tommy Lee Jones delivers quite a very good speech here.
Aye.
I mean, it was only a couple of years removed from him doing Men in Black. I mean, he did this, he did The Fugitive, and then sort of he got established as an action star again because of Volcano.
Yeah. I tell you what, I actually enjoyed him in, you know, it was one of those kind of films that I think probably should have been bigger than it was, but it was actually quite enjoyable. But Space Cowboys?
Oh yeah, well again, that was like, to be honest with you, Space Cowboys was like comedy Expendables before the Expendables.
Yeah.
Clint
Well,
Eastwood,
that's it.
James Garner, Tommy Lee Jones. Who's the fourth? Is Donald Sutherland.
Aye.
I mean, Tommy Lee Jones could be in the Expendables.
I'd buy him in that, like. But do you think we're seeing the last of that now?
No, I think there should be one more Expendables, and I think they should just go 18 rated. I think John Woo should direct it. And I think the likes of like Nicolas Cage and your Christian Slaters and your, you know, just an alternative Expendables team, and just had an absolutely all-out war.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only way it works. I mean, I think for me, I absolutely adore the first Expendables. The second one I actually quite like more cinematically.
It is.
But the third one, just, I mean, it wasn't, I mean, there's something that I can take away from it. I do appreciate Wesley Snipes, and I do think there's some scenes in the third one that were, but it was just, I don't know, just so on the nose. I was like, look at the Young Bucks, let's get them in, and it's just like, and the Young Bucks weren't even that good.
No.
You know, as actors, it was like, you weren't even getting good quality out of it either. And that says a lot when you're doing, like, when you try to do like a take on like an 80s cheesy action film.
See, here's this scene I was talking to you about before when the working on them caution. That looks like he's just walked past the same scene. These caution bars above them, they're chopping them up and all that. But like that's how they're going to move the missiles and stuff. But again, this is a scene from this is John McClane hiding in the elevator, isn't it?
Yes.
And they've got quite a lot of screen time like together.
Yeah, because I think it makes sense now when I remember him saying like how him and it was very much a Busey Tommy Lee Jones film that also had Seagal in.
I mean, I've just totally fucking forgot about Batman Forever when I was talking before about what he had done. Obviously, he was Two-Face.
I was just thinking that myself, no word of lie. I was just sitting there when he had that smile on his face, I thought, oh, that's proper Two-Face, that's... And I think he did an awesome job with that. I think now it's dated. I mean, when you look at the... it's more the makeup effect that is dated. I mean, obviously we know how cheesy and how over the top it is. But as far as like a Two-Face kind of character goes, he really captured the comic of it. You know, he didn't try and do too much of a serious role with it.
I mean, I listened to the commentary for Batman and Robin the other week with Joel Schumacher because I just thought, well, I'll watch it. Because it's fucking mental to know that Corey Haim's in that movie. And I was like, what? But Joel Schumacher was just like, that's what they're wanting to do. And I mean, if you've wanted to do a dark movie, Joel Schumacher has made some fucking dark movies, Falling Down, like all that kind of stuff. And it gets a lot of hate. But like visually, it's stunning. Is like, you know what I mean? It was catered for a kid. And here's some boobies.
Definitely.
Here comes some boobies.
Boobies. The question is, though, how long did she think she had to sit in that cake for?
Well, the thing is, I mean, like,
It could be a while now.
I mean, would you not be weird, like, if you were sitting in a cake and, like, you didn't hear anybody?
Yeah. No, I just think it's got to be, like, if you think a timeline between when it all kicked off, it's got to be within, like, the hour stage now. So
Yeah.
at what point she thought, right, I'll best just sit here until something happens?
I always like to examine what's going on. I mean, Seagal's got Navy sticker on his locker. Like, there we go. He's Die Hard.
Yeah.
SEAL Team 1, though. Look at that. He's got a SEAL Team 1 sticker on his lamp.
On the
And
lamp.
that's
Yeah.
just before Fucking hell, if that was VHS, you wouldn't be able to see that, but no one knows about him yet being a SEAL.
Nah, that's it.
And again, you know what it is? He's wearing a green tank top, so it's totally Die Hard.
I was gonna say totally like when I'm wearing a tank top. Oh, can't be white. Let's get green because that's army. You know.
I mean, I haven't seen her in anything like, but I mean, I think coming from
she wasn't a model or what? I don't think she was really an actress. I think, especially like Baywatch, they weren't exactly hiring actresses. They were hiring chicks with bodies, and so I think when it came to this, I'd probably be not surprised at all if I went on IMDb and find that before this she probably did nothing.
I mean, don't get us wrong. I mean, obviously, like at the time, it made perfect sense to have her in.
Yeah. I dare say she would have done a few things afterwards, because like I say, it was critically acclaimed. Like, the film was like a really good hit.
It was even bigger hit though when it hit her, because like this was peak for VHS. I think the early 90s, the late 80s and the early 90s, VHS was huge.
Yeah. Well, listen, you know, because it's funny enough, I was never a cinema goer. Like, when we were kids, we just never had the money, like. So for me, from probably 4-year-old, I always, like, the benefit was that my mum worked in the video shop, so I always remember bringing home, like, boxes of VHS that were, like, being moved on because I needed space for the new stuff. So that's how I kind of got to watch a lot of the stuff that I did, and most of it probably what I shouldn't have seen, you know, in terms of like horrors and stuff like that. But I always remember, like, that's why I kind of appreciate like maybe your videos and that, because like, it's always the VHS boxes that kind of make me feel at home about film and what they should look like.
I'm just thinking, this guy here, smoking, he's in the second one, isn't he? He's grew a beard.
Yeah. No, oh yeah. Aye.
I'm sure he is.
He looks familiar. I would say so.
Oh, there's a submarine. It's always red in submarines. Just reminds us of Godzilla '85.
Yeah. Sadly, of all the submarine-style films there is, the only one I ever remember, which was U-571.
Oh, mate, I went to see that at the pictures, you know, and I've never bothered really watching it. I remember seeing that, and I remember going to the pictures to see Sphere, thinking, "Oh, that'd be amazing!" Like fucking from the creator of Jurassic Park and all that, the fucking octopus, and like, where's the fucking octopus? But you're right, but Seagal there as well. He's not like flat tummied as well. He's quite he's not podgy, but he's not like he's definitely not rocking a 6-pack.
No, I mean I think he got dad bod.
I wonder if that's what you were on about before with Seagal was, if you don't do what I'll do, then she'll do it. Lock her in a fucking locker and leave her. I'll come back there. So is this when they discover the mess hall that there's some dead bodies, yeah?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Apparently, if you ask Seagal, like, apparently his story changes all the time when it comes to working with her. I think originally he was point blank against it. He said he didn't want, like, I think in court, he didn't want to work with a blonde bimbo. And then, like, now apparently if you ask him, he'll, like, tell you, like, it was his idea and that he was the one who casted it and he was the one who came up with the idea of it and stuff.
I mean, a couple of people I worked with in Bulgaria had worked with Seagal, because obviously Seagal is basically, because it's weird because, like, he came across and he worked a lot of times in Bulgaria, but then there's a TV show that's been split off into fucking films over here, Born to Raise Hell, and all these movies come out, but it's part of a TV series, but they've like literally grouped like these episodes together to make one movie and stuff. So that's why there's so many Van Damme films out there. This is before he went around thinking he was a lawman.
Mm.
Imagine having that stabbed in your neck, man. You'd be instantly dead. There you go. Just so happens that they're there. There's a...
Well timed.
In bloody hell.
Yes.
There you go. Even at the menu board behind his head's got Ryback names in it there.
Yeah. Like Casey King cheese or something in it.
Aye. Attention to detail, man. Ryback's green.
The name goes back into his family as well. I think that was one of the things that he wanted to put in. Seagal, he wanted, apparently it's part of his family who was in the military or something like that.
Them two definitely return in the sequel.
Well, it's an easy cast, so isn't it? When you think about it, I mean, obviously there's no money involved really. You probably paid them a little bit extra, but you know, as actors go, they're not exactly well known. So I'd imagine it's just an easy put connection to it.
Well, that's it. I mean, a lot of the time, a lot of the actors that get cast by a casting agent and just typecast for, you know what I mean. But again, like actors like this will probably appear in loads of TV shows you never see. I mean, I've been recently watching the X-Files, and I think I'm up to season 6 now, and the amount of people that just appear in the X-Files, but because it's Vancouver based and there's a lot of production coming out of Vancouver, you're like, I mean, I was watching one last night where Bruce Campbell was in it as a special guest, but then the episode before that, you've got Michael Keenan in it, and then you've got like the guy who plays Kano from Mortal Kombat, but they're really young. You think, fucking hell.
It reminds me of a thing like ER. Say like ER was like the TV show to talk about, but if you go back and watch that, it's literally got anybody like noteworthy. In those series, you got Ewan McGregor's in there. You got pretty much any major actor that you can think of today. They were probably in ER.
I've never seen ER. Never. No, I'm not a one to go. I want to like. If I want to watch a movie, I don't want to watch a movie about any kind of like maybe it's disease or anything like that. I watch a movie to like, you know, like to let that escapism. You know what I mean? But like with TV shows and all that, especially when they're like health focused shows. Like I mean, I remember Casualty as a kid, and like being like terrified of like touching anything because of what you seen on Casualty the night before.
Yeah.
I mean, even that must be a real missile room. I don't think you could build that.
Nah, I'm buying that as a real room, like.
It's definitely 90s when she's got the backwards cap on, but has to have the flick of hair out. It's a bit of a story at the end as well when they actually know each other, but it's not really. It's not a big build up. It's not that. It's I know you, don't I? It's been a long time. And it's like, right, okay.
Yeah. They say it didn't really need explaining, did it? I think sometimes that's like film's biggest problem these days. It has to be like spelled out to people, and everything has to be like kind of dissected and stuff like that. So they're both like kind of in the same line of work. It's likely that they might have met each other or work with each other.
I think one of the things what spoiled a lot of films now is how many TV shows there is now, especially if you look at how many different versions of NCSI there is. And it's like there's probably like 1,000 movies within NCSI alone where there would have been good movies with a good plot twist, but now we're so used to like plot twists and build-ups and all that. It's like, you know what I mean, like a simple like, oh, I know you, don't you? Like, well, I want to know more. Oh, wait, you know what I mean? It's like there's so much going on.
Well, you say that with TV, like too much. There's just so much. I mean, like I said, it's hard now, just trying to keep up with stuff. People are constantly, oh, have you seen this? Have you seen that? Saying no, 'cause I don't have like 6 months of my life to dedicate to like, at least I think the only benefit now is that, especially with a lot of stuff, they're shortening them down now. Like once upon a time, like if you watch a TV series, it was potentially going to be like 22 episodes, and they were nearly like 42 minutes a piece. It's like so much effort to put in just to try and like kind of keep up with stuff like that.
Yeah.
And when I watched the other day, which was such a nice, pleasant watch, it's on BBC, The Year of the Rabbits. It's Matt Berry, and it's literally 6 episodes in 24 minutes each. And it was just like, this is such a nice casual watch. It's really funny actually. You should watch it. It's basically set in kind of old London time, but it's just like really over the top, and like it's got quite a few like comedians in.
I know when it there, like I don't know if you just seen that there when he's setting up that little satellite dish in the little tent there, and he just rolls his hand across with his fingers, like, what are you doing with that? Like cutting the air in front of it.
Well, I get handed these things though, don't I? Just say, there you go, just play with that for a couple of minutes, make it look like you know what you're doing.
And there you go. He knows Chief right back as well. Got an inside man.
There's always an inside man.
Look at him, man. He's got like a hands-free kit set and everything, man. I mean, he's... I do have seen the other guy in with the glasses, the other general, in quite a few bits and bobs, but nothing I can put my finger on, like.
Nah.
Oh, hang on, no. He's a fucking school teacher in Summit. Oh, he's the school teacher in Pump Up the Volume. Listen to what they're playing now. Have you seen Pump Up the Volume?
Because I've never seen him, mate.
Pump Up the Volume is the original podcast movie. It's basically Christian Slater moves to a small town, has a shortwave radio, and basically because he comes from New York and he has all this music, again it's set in the 90s, and he has people calling in, writing them letters, and he only goes on live, but like the government's trying to track him down and hunt him down and that, but it's a really good movie, that. Very hard to get a hold of. I think it was on Music Magpie a few weeks ago. It had a very limited run on DVD, but it's a brilliant movie. It's one of Christian Slater's best, like.
Because I don't think I've seen a tremendous amount of Christian Slater. I think, all I think of is when I think of him, I think of True Romance and probably Young Gun 2.
Well, what about Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Heathers? I mean,
the
Broken Arrow, Hard Rain. I mean, he's
Broken Arrow. I haven't seen Heather. I've never seen Heather, mate.
You haven't seen Heathers?
Nah.
Fucking hell! You just admitted that on a podcast. No, Heathers is definitely one for you to pick up on Arrow label. It looks amazing.
Really, yeah. Like I was saying, I don't know what it was. I just thought what you would give me.
Sorry, what was that, mate?
I said, I don't know, like some of his stuff just seemed to have escaped me.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I like him.
Obviously, I look on looking at the body of work, and I just think that was one of the things. I don't know if it was just because I mean, remember, like my approach to VHS, especially like Global Video and stuff like that, it was all about the covers. That was pretty much what you had. You had the synopsis and you had the covers.
Yeah.
And I still look at some of them today and go, that's the reason why I never watched it. I'll look at a cover today and go, there's nothing pulling me towards that at all. And even the Heathers cover, I know what it is. It's clear as day in my head. But I could totally imagine that being something that would have just I would have bypassed. Not based on the quality of film, just the cover never draw me in.
Yeah, I mean, it's Heather's original cover is just Slater and Winona Ryder on the front cover. It looks like a teen comedy, do you know what I mean? So, are you still there?
Yeah.
My mum keeps My mum keeps trying to ring on the phone. Obviously.
Oh, that what that noise was.
Aye.
Right.
I don't know if I'm able to like tell her to stop ringing us via air while I'm still talking to you.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna say, well, ideally, if my mum was meant to come over earlier on, I was like, can you come in like 2 hours time, just so you don't walk in? So.
Just quickly going, as he's about to set the bomb. Now, here's the big stunt of the movie, which obviously reminds you of the helicopter in Die Hard as well.
Yeah.
Right, I've just messaged my mum. I do apologise for that. It's the first time ever I've had a phone call in between a podcast. I normally have it all silenced. And here it goes. Boom. Pretty good stunt, that.
That's pretty impressive, like.
That is a really impressive stunt. And even oh yeah, there's no like reset for that. You've got your takes, and then you've got your retakes, and then you've got like whoops.
Yeah. I suppose in some way, unless, I mean, you didn't want to be that guy, but unless an extra is just totally balls it up the job, there's not really much you can go wrong with that. I mean, it's all about the explosion. So as long as you have that explosion, I can imagine like it would work anyway.
Well, that's it. You just get everyone cleared away and stuff like that, and you know that's what a stunt team comes in, takes over. A lot of the times and stuff like that, it'll be the stunt team, and they are so professional when it comes that they know what it's there, they know what the risk is. They're not bothered about showing their face. That's their job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what I love so much about the John Wick series, because I mean, obviously that whole thing, whether it be directed, starred, or anything like that, all the involvement is through like stuntmen, and it was just like kind of, I think the first one was purely just to showcase what like a group of stuntmen could put together. It just like it works so well.
I'm pretty shocked you haven't seen Broken Arrow, because that's a John Woo movie, you know.
No, I did. No, sorry, you mustn't have caught it. I did say I'd seen Broken Arrow. Is the other one you mentioned?
What's that one? Oh, Hard Rain. He didn't.
Yeah.
No, he didn't direct Hard Rain. It's the same writer as Broken Arrow, but it's not the same. It's a really good film, Hard Rain. It's like a.
See, with Broken Arrow, it's got Christian Slater, but to me, it's like it's John Travolta.
Oh, Broken Arrow.
Travolta?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Broken Arrow.
like that's probably again why I probably would have twigged on that. I thought, oh, I'm going to say that because it's John Travolta, you know, rather than like being Christian Slater for some reason.
John Travolta had his comeback that where he did Face Off just after as well. So
yeah.
look, he's just pressing all these buttons. Didn't even light up.
Oh, he's ringing you.
Alright.
Is that someone else?
What's that?
Is that someone else ringing you?
No.
Oh, checking out the girders.
Sorry about this. My mum is literally, she says, oh, I'm coming up to see you just across the gate. I'm like, no. So here we go. There's oh, get your glasses on, Seagal there. Some of the cast that's been just hanging out.
Yeah, I was just about to say, hold on a minute, you know, there's been no interaction with them whatsoever.
Well, he's been in quite a lot of films there. He was in Cuffs. As I say, the guy as well, he's been in absolutely loads as well. I think he's in like Clear and Present Danger. He's popped up in a lot of movies.
him there, he's just got that base, hasn't he, though? He's been all over the place.
Well, he's the guy, the old guy there with the hair. He's the guy, Roger Badaktiak, I think he's called, in Ace Ventura. He's the one who jumps out, is murdered. The one who originally hires Ace Ventura, so he was quite around at that time.
So I'm sure he's done a bit. I probably just haven't seen it, but I was surprised that that Damien Chapa hadn't done like a lot, like more recognisable. The guy who played Ken Street Fighter. He seemed like a proper, like almost perfectly fitted out action star. You know, he's a bit athletic bloke. I mean, obviously his action skills are no like kind of higher or lower than what the 90s action stars are. So I'm surprised I haven't seen him in a lot more stuff.
Well, that's it. I mean, he's in Street Fighter, isn't he? And then that's pretty much it.
That's it, yeah, because I mean, I'm sure if you IMDb, I mean, probably have like 30-odd films that which are like B movies or, you know, straight to DVD or something like that, but I just figured, like, you know, given like he's rolling this and then getting Street Fighter after this, it was just like, well, I mean, did Street Fighter make money?
I think Street Fighter suffered. I mean, it was the right era. We had Mortal Kombat the same year, and you had Van Damme and Kylie Minogue. But I think the thing which suffered with Street Fighter is it was just mental.
Well, listen, it was all over the place. It was almost like if you were saying like Street Fighter characters in a different film. You know, it's like it just felt like they were just using the characters themselves just to kind of pass it off as a Street Fighter film.
Well, it was miscasting. I mean, Sagat is tiny. E Honda is Hawaiian instead of being like a sumo. You know what I mean? It's like Ken, blonde-haired Ken. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, he should at least bleached his hair for the movie. Van Damme, he's fucking from Brussels and he's playing Guile.
Yeah, the most American person ever.
Blanca, it's like, what the fuck, man?
But then you've got, like, I mean, the curse of video games not being able to work on screen, you know? I mean, obviously, Mortal Kombat has always been known to have the exception. But, like, literally in almost every other video game film just don't work, like.
Yeah. I think with Under Siege as well, what you can put to it towards is it, you know, it was that good of an action movie. You kind of like, if you're talking about computer games, Call of Duty and stuff like that, that environment, you know what I mean? GoldenEye, there was a ship level on GoldenEye.
Yeah, true, yeah.
Oh, aye, one of them goes down. You know why he went down, don't you? In the laws of movies, because he perved at the picture at the start. He's a pervert. He must be shot.
I thought you were going to go a different way there.
No.
See, that shot's just lovely there, mate.
Yeah, it is.
Unnecessary box, you know, the lighting's like spot on.
God, imagine if you got your foot caught in that. Goodbye.
Have you ever seen where do I blank now? Men of Honor?
Yes, once. Yeah, once.
It always goes through me because obviously in that scene, like one of those chains basically comes loose, and that's what kind of wipes his leg out. And it always, every single time I see that scene, it's just like, Jesus, they do it well, like make you feel it.
Okay, man, look at that, man. He's like wireless technology, man. Look at that extra on the far left, just like looking at the guy going, just got the gormless look on his face.
I don't know, look like that could have been me. That was my role.
Do, do, do. I'm gonna have to go and pick my new computer from the back door in a minute.
So what's your job not like?
Yeah. My apologies. See, I've got Brittany trained. My mother, though, answer me! She was just...
Hey, she answered to no one, that woman. She brought you into this world.
True. The safest place behind in the ship is behind you. That was a hell of a stunt fall by that guy before, when he went down the stairs.
Yeah.
I mean, we are motoring on. I would say we're into the last part of the movie. You know, we're going to have the torpedo montage. Oh, this death as well as a kid. You're just like, oh, but like, why is it there? It's like, did you see the Predator?
Yeah.
It just goes straight, like there, just...
Literally straight, yeah.
Fucking brutal, that. Even that scene there, it's just like... I mean, in all fairness, they are getting the bars off and cutting them off.
Yeah.
Comes a guy down the stairs. I mean, to be honest with you, right, if you were walking down the stairs that steep with that bar, would you not struggle a bit?
I was going to say, something tells me it's not necessarily, oh, that's going to tick off.
Oh, dude, this is totally the uncut version, because that is brutal. I don't think I've ever seen that bit. The amount of times I've seen this movie. Oh, mate, because it's just the bandsaws has gone through his shoulder. It is uncut,
Yeah, Chris, this is the one you won't find on the standalone UK DVD, I think, that the workshop scene. I'm sure that's what they said was cut.
Oh, it was brutal, that. I mean, I'm not, like as I said, I mean, since I've bought this on Blu-ray, I'll wake up and I'll honestly, I'll only ever see the intro and I'll be out for the count. I'll be like, and I'll wake up and I'll be not under siege again.
You do mean he just switched his ear for a telephone? The first time he did it with the ear with the earpiece in.
Smoking, multitasking on the phone, typing. I mean, he's going for the full... Oh, but now it's in his mouth. Have you noticed that? It's
yeah.
In between takes, it was in his mouth, then it wasn't.
Gotta love a classic.
Oh, now he's got two phones.
And an earpiece.
Guns are down. I would hate to, like, I mean, I don't miss smoking at all, like, but it must be so hard. They keep having cigarettes in between scenes. I know they've got, like, ones that aren't, like, poisonous and shit like that, but still.
Because I think a lot of them, a lot of the time I would have always thought, why not just use, I mean, I don't know if they don't look as good because there's no smoke coming off them, but you know, those old talc ones.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
used to have tricks. Because like I say, I mean, obviously I'm an ex-smoker, and like I say, imagine having to light and relight and constantly smoking all day, basically. Very good.
Here comes the SEAL team. Spotting any famous faces? Nope.
That's what I'm trying to think of there, going through them.
Okay, now, man. Bazookaed out of the sky. Round table discussion. What's going on now? The extra at the background just looks like he's asleep. Cole Meany's a brilliant henchman in this, I think.
I think he's got a lot. Like, I mean, again, it's just, I feel like everything he does. Oh, he's still there. Everything he does, it feels like he elevates it. You know, you can literally give him the most mundane like script, and I just feel like he's one of those actors who can just kind of bring it to life a little bit.
He was in The Commitments, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, and now we get a montage of building a bomb. I mean, like, everyone's looking in the ship for that, and he's got time to take the bomb to bits. I mean, come on. Other board films, though, you've got stuff like Deep Rising, that borrowed, I think, for a lot from this. Ghost Ship, The Triangle, Titanic. You just got to really get a decommissioned ship and you're really rolling, don't you?
Essentially, yeah.
Oh, he's got it though. He's got his condom out. You've got to think why he would have a condom though on a naval ship like that.
That might have been part of her act.
Oh, aye.
Anyway, tonight didn't every single bloke have one in the wallet just in case?
I've still got mine in my wallet from the 90s.
Not gonna lie, like someone actually legitimately donated an unopened box of condoms to Beamish a couple of months ago. Apparently they date it back to the 50s.
Jesus Christ. Is that for your new I was going to say, where's he got the wetsuit from? But he's on a naval ship, I'll shut up. Fuck me, I bet that was cold. Hi, so Gary Busey apparently doesn't die here, but how do you know, like just have him floating by at the end? He's in the middle of the submarine when it blows up.
Right. Do you think it was, obviously like you said earlier on though, do you think they just want to leave it open just to bring him back?
Well, that was it. I mean, as I said, I just read about it saying he was meant to be the original bad guy and stuff, but that's just too, like, it's like Durant in the Darkman series. The guy goes into a building in a helicopter and the helicopter explodes up in the fucking building, and he comes back without a scar in the second one. You think, what? I think... I'd say that must have not getting one of them hooks in the back. I mean, to be honest with you there, him putting that bomb on there and all that montage of bombing for just like a little bit of a flash flare, what's that about?
There's some random outfits going on, like.
I get spot here, but then the chick turns up, didn't she? This death of Cole Meany.
Yep. Oh, you've been caught on the back.
Been nice shot though, boys. Got him sitting with the lights going up behind him and stuff.
Yeah.
Turned her into a killer.
I just don't buy her in this film. Like, I think she's clearly not like an actress, really. But
I think TV acting's a lot different from film acting. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
I think when you've got when you're acting in a TV show, especially as long as she was in Baywatch, you know what I mean. People get used to her character and her traits and stuff like that, and you kind of look at them as, especially TV shows, them as that person, not as acting. But when you're in a movie and you look at people how they deliver lines, and you go, oh, something not right there, and you go, is that the best they've got?
well, listen, I mean, that was the topic in the movie group the other night when they turned around and said who would potentially replace Ezra Miller as the Flash. And obviously, Grant Gustin, who plays the Flash in the TV series, is really good. But like you were saying, the acting in a TV series compared to a film is just a completely different thing. Like,
2 seconds, keep on talking, Carl, for this podcast.
right up. So I've got the old heart to heart. Oh, that could be a film rig, that. So, to be honest with you, I do feel like this is quite a well-paced film. I mean, it's kind of very smooth. There's not really many slow points. And it's just one of those kind of, it knows what I want to be. But tech guy's starting to struggle. Tommy Lee Jones does not like any answer, but... see now the team coming back together.
Well, there's someone trying to deliver something for next door, and they're not in. I'm like, no one lives there.
Oh, really? Because not even your stuff?
No, just tell them through the window, go up there, but there's loads of people out in the yard. God.
Well, all the good guys are regrouped.
So what have I missed? Have they blew it up, have they?
No, he's got a hoodie, because obviously naturally he's had to change, and all the good guys are just getting together, so...
We still got shells.
So that bloke got a cap on with the USS Missouri, and that's actually the ship they filmed on, I think.
The guy is proper creepy. Montage of how to load a torpedo.
Yep.
Fuck me, how many of them you could have put in? Where are they coming from as well?
Yeah. What is it?
It's probably like gunpowder, maybe. Is it, don't they miss the first one as well?
Yeah. Well, you better miss the first one. That way, you got to build the suspense.
Is it Wednesday or Thursday today?
Wednesday.
Ah. His reaction shot there was great, like, you know what I mean? That's why Tommy Lee Jones is gold there, like. I mean, imagine that, they're firing at us. There's a missile heading towards us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because it blows his eardrums out here, doesn't it, as well?
Don't know. I think this is where I'm starting to get a bit sketchy on my memory.
It blows his eardrums out.
Oh, that would do it, like.
Just falls over. That's definitely a lock set, that though, because the back of that looks like a wall.
Yeah, it's obviously added the mist and the fog there, hasn't it?
I mean, I would believe Gary Busey was okay if he was still on the top when it exploded and he got flown off, like, but... I mean, that's quite a lot to do rather than just pointing and firing it.
True, yeah. Oh, absolutely. It takes such detail, like. Oh.
Yeah, he's definitely dead. I do not believe he survived that.
He's not coming out of that, like.
Yeah, blew his eardrums out. There's blood coming out his ears.
See, it's that kind of attention to detail again. You know, like I say, you know, they could have gone with more a visual effect of him being blown back that much, maybe like gash his face or something like that. But just like going for something that's so like actually accurate, and the fact that he's playing off so well as well. So it's not just a throwaway. Oh yeah, I've just got being blown back a little bit. It's going to affect him throughout the film.
Definitely sends him a bit batshit crazy as well.
Got a shrimp, yeah.
I'll hit you with a shrimp. That guy in the background as well, the Chinese guy, I've definitely recognised him from something, but I can't put my finger on it, like.
Yeah, he's got a... I mean, he's hearing awfully well for having his eardrum blown a bit, like.
Oh, you can see the whiteboard reflection in his eyes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I suppose it didn't really bother about that when in VHS, but now I look back and it's like, oh.
Well, that's the thing with stunt films now, especially when you see these older films getting remastered on Blu-ray, to say it doesn't work, you know, when it's too clean or if it's too sharp. I always feel like it's not as bad as I remembered, but I remember watching my brother's copies of Lord of the Rings on Blu-ray, and to be honest with you, some of the CGI is actually really dated now, and it just looks weird because they've sharpened the picture so much that whenever you see like the CGI back screen and everything, it's just too fake.
Yeah.
But then you've got things like Young Guns, for example, that apparently has one of the worst transfers on Blu-ray. So I really bugs me that because it's such a nice looking film.
Young Guns 2 was out on Blu-ray in New Zealand when I was over, but it was really expensive. I think it had just come out, and I think with Young Guns 1 and 2, you need a company like Arrow to come along and just pick both of them up and like release them as like it is a box set.
Definitely, yeah, I would agree with that.
Fight. AWOL, that's a good name for him. What's your name? AWOL.
Not quite Maverick, is it?
No.
Tell you what, like they're keeping that wrapped up with Val Kilmer's role.
Mate, I didn't even recognise Val Kilmer in the new Jay and Silent Bob movie.
Oh, terrible. Well, not terrible, but I really like. He's definitely changed.
I shit you not. It wasn't until the end credits and it came up and it said Val Kilmer. I was like, what?
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't recognise him like when I saw him on screen, but I think it was also because I saw a picture of him like not so long ago because they were talking about like what he was going to be able to do in the new Top Gun. Obviously, he's not going to be Iceman, but I've got a funny feeling like they might end up playing off on the idea that he's going to be kind of old and retired, but like also like broken down, just so they don't have to worry about him getting him in any form of shape.
Well, is he not playing Iceman just as a cameo?
Oh yeah, he is Iceman, but what I mean is like he's not like the Iceman we know. When you think of him, like obviously we know he's not going to be able to recapture that look or that kind of persona. But I just feel like it's gotta be like kind of I'm knackered, I'm old, let myself go kind of look.
I know you, don't I? Such a brilliant actor, like. But again, that's what Seagal needs to bounce off, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely. But like I say, you know what he's going to bring to the table, but he needs a good body around him.
I was going to say, didn't even look like Seagal there. Is that a stand-in? It's a bit grainy here, do you not think?
A little bit, yeah.
I mean, especially Seagal's sitting there not even breaking a sweat, just like doing the speech with family.
Yeah, he's so chilly.
You can kind of see where they would have looked at, but this is Warner Brothers, isn't it? So again, like executives of Warner Brothers would have been like, "Oh, what about Tommy Lee Jones for Two-Face?"
Now, thinking for this knife fight, right? Are they doing a really good job of making it look good, or is it literally just flailing the hands around? I can't tell.
Aye, well, you're right. Like it's like kind of like.
I mean, it works. It does look skillful the way they're making it look, but I'm hard to follow the hands and thinking, are they doing it deliberately or is it just working?
It's working. Like I mean, it's Oh, I mean, I don't believe that he would bite into a knife like. Oh, look at that!
I was like, oh Jesus! I forgot about that bit.
Well, that was he popped his eye out with his thumb, stabbed him in the head, which was a great prosthetic, and then into the car. I mean, I don't remember the eye being popped out.
No, I kind of remembered him getting his head pushed into the screen, but I wasn't expecting that head like.
Just the eye getting popped in, like, his eye being popped out.
Yeah.
Tomahawk 2. It's a mint name for a missile, that, a Tomahawk.
Yeah. Some nice camera shots.
Gets his little computer out here. Does all he do is sign in, does he, and boom it up?
Yeah.
You see him just drop that floppy disk in the top.
No, he didn't be pushing that in, like.
Look at that pretty little keyboard, man. Suspense, 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 suspense. Boom. That was the same shot from before.
Exactly the same, wasn't it?
Exactly the same shot. It's like when I was watching Jaws the Revenge I was doing that podcast, and like, I don't know if you've seen it on Blu-ray, but they've changed the ending.
Have they?
So on the ending of the Blu-ray, I think Mario Van Peebles doesn't die, but as soon as the boat point hits the shark, it explodes, and then it's the scene from the original movie as the shark flies to its death. But it's the actual it's the actual footage from the first movie.
I did not know that.
But then if you watch the uncut version, you see like this massive model of the boat and the shark falling to its death, and it looks mint.
Nice.
That guy is definitely in the sequel. God, imagine being some of these extras flying through the door here.
Because they can totally tell how to slide underneath that water.
Oh, and he gets the kiss with the girl at the end.
Of course he does, that's...
Hey, give him a round of applause, big kisses. Pans out.
Into the sunset. Or sunrise.
In that little boat, probably flying in front of them, there's the one that's been doing all the photography.
Yeah.
And then here's the scene that is on the front cover of the... no, because he's standing on the front cover in a white suit, isn't he?
Right.
When she's a cadet now.
Yeah, I've gone from yep, you're in a Navy pet.
Well, that's it. And it's weird though, because it comes up at the end there, co-starring straight away. Like,
yeah.
Like, really? I mean, they're not enough, like... Are they big enough names? I mean, they could have probably just fitted that in at the start.
Yeah. Seemed a weird way to end it, though, because, I mean, like I say, obviously with the funeral, I'm guessing it was for the old guy.
Yeah, the captain.
The that job, but didn't really explain, or I mean, not that I need to explain it, but it didn't really like, kind of, I don't know if I needed it.
No, you're right, like. Well, I don't think this will have a hidden ending like the Marvel Universe, so
No.
that has been the podcast for Under Siege, along with Mr. Carl.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks very much for listening. We'll see you next time.